Before proceeding, viewers are advised to exercise caution. The following is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is a verbatim reproduction of testimony in federal court in the case of Sean Diddy Combs, as reported by Inner City Press. The high-profile court case is finally underway. At the center of the proceedings is Sean Diddy Combs, a renowned musician and businessman, but now the stakes are higher than ever. Another important figure has entered the fray, Sean Jay-Z Carter. He arrives in court not as a celebrity known around the world, as a successful entrepreneur and king of hip-hop, but as an ordinary man who now has to defend himself against serious charges. These charges are related to a high-profile scandal involving Diddy, and now Jay-Z finds himself directly involved in this complicated situation. Diddy is currently experiencing a real crisis that could destroy his entire brilliant career and reputation, built up over many years. His name used to be associated with success, musical hits, and high-profile parties that seemed to be just part of his image, fun and colorful events that his fans loved him for. But now, everything has changed. Those same parties, which used to be just a show, have become a serious reason for legal proceedings. They have turned into key pieces of evidence that could seriously harm Diddy. Jay-Z has also unexpectedly become involved in the case. His name has suddenly been linked to various places and events that he himself firmly claims he has never been to and does not know any of the people who were allegedly with him. In essence, they are trying to drag him into a scandal without any real grounds. Now the whole world is watching to see how Jay-Z will build his defense, how he will explain his position, and try to clear his name in the eyes of the court and the public. Because for both him and Diddy, this story could have far-reaching consequences. Jay-Z enters the courtroom looking reserved, wearing a formal dark blue suit that emphasizes the seriousness of the situation. Unlike his usual grand entrances, this time he appears without his usual entourage. No family, no lawyers, no assistants. This is immediately noticeable to everyone. They are there to hear him as a regular person, not as a celebrity. The atmosphere in the courtroom changes. The air becomes thick, and everyone present, the judge, the lawyers, the journalists, and even the spectators, seems to hold their breath. Everyone understands that the words that are about to be spoken could change a lot, because this is not just another testimony, but a real turning point in the case. He begins to speak calmly but firmly, stating immediately that he can no longer remain silent. The time has come to tell everything he knows and has experienced. Instead of immediately rejecting the accusations and denying his involvement, he chooses honesty and openness, trying to convey to everyone the context in which this story took place. He admits that he did attend some of the events organized by Diddy, but emphasizes that what he saw and felt at these meetings did not match what he was later told or what was expected of him. He describes in detail the strange and disturbing things he witnessed. Setups, situations where people were clearly misled or trapped, confiscated phones, items that were taken from guests without explanation, closed rooms where no one was allowed in, and where incomprehensible negotiations or activities took place. All of this gave him the feeling that something illegal or at least questionable was going on. However, Jay-Z emphasizes that he did not interfere in these activities and was not part of these schemes and machinations. He did not participate in any crimes and tried to stay away from anything suspicious. Moreover, he realized that his presence there was not entirely appropriate, that he was, as it were, a casual guest who did not fit into this closed circle of intrigue and deception. His words give the impression that he found himself in a situation that he did not control or support, and now he is forced to fight for his name and reputation in a very difficult process. Jay-Z begins to talk about a specific event that, according to him, was a turning point in this story, a party in Miami in 2015, which, according to the prosecutors, was connected to the birthday of Christian Combs, Diddy's son. According to his description, the atmosphere at the party changed dramatically and became strange. People were wearing masks, and one man stood out in particular. This man was dressed in a leather suit and high heels, and looked clearly frightened and confused. Jay-Z says that it was then that he felt that something was wrong, and that it would be better to leave so as not to get involved in what was going on. He emphasizes that he left the party before everyone else so as not to have any connection with what was happening. The prosecution, in turn, presents a photograph that has become one of the key pieces of evidence in the case. It shows Jay-Z, Diddy, Beyoncé, LeBron James, and another person in a latex mask kneeling on the ground. This photo raised many questions and caused quite a stir, as it looks rather strange and confusing. When Jay-Z sees the photo, he remains silent, but later explains that he was told it was just a theatrical performance, a kind of show, part of the entertainment program. He claims that he did not laugh or actively participate in the performance, and that he did not stay at the event longer than necessary because he did not want to have anything to do with this strange spectacle. Jay-Z goes on to talk about how, in late 2018, when the first rumors of an investigation began to circulate, he had a serious personal conversation with Diddy. At the time, Diddy warned him to be careful and said that these are just parties, and no one will get hurt unless they want to. According to him, it sounded like an attempt to reassure him that nothing bad was happening and that he shouldn't worry. But after that conversation, Jay-Z began to distance himself from Diddy. He stopped answering his calls and tried to stay away from all projects related to him, as if trying to protect himself and his reputation. Meanwhile, prosecutors are presenting evidence, correspondence between Jay-Z's lawyers and an anonymous person. These messages state that the non-disclosure agreements signed by the participants of those parties could be used against them in court. This means that those who remain silent or try to hide the truth can only make their situation worse. In response, Jay-Z says he has no intention of remaining silent or hiding anything because he does not want to fall victim to such rules and agreements. He intends to speak openly and fight for his truth so as not to fall into the trap that, in his opinion, was set for him. Jay-Z continues his testimony with a very powerful and emotional statement. He says that Diddy was like a brother to him, almost a member of his family. But now, after everything that has happened, he has realized who this man really is and what he could have become if he had stayed with him and continued to be involved in those affairs. This candid statement shows that for Jay-Z, it went far beyond mere accusations. It was both a personal and moral blow. He goes on to describe how the allegations and the whole scandal have greatly affected his own family, especially Beyoncé and their children. According to him, their lives have turned into a nightmare because of the constant attention from the paparazzi and the endless rumors and gossip spread by the media. To refute some of the allegations, Jay-Z provides concrete evidence. He shows documents, videos, and witness statements confirming that on the day of one of the parties he's accused of attending, he was actually with Beyoncé in Paris. This is a very important point. He is trying to prove that he simply could not have been involved in those events. He does not shy away from criticizing the modern culture of gossip and unverified news, which, in his opinion, ruthlessly destroys people's reputations, even when there is no real evidence of their guilt. Jay-Z emphasizes that his reputation is not just his personal business, but the fate of his entire family, their peace and security. He particularly rejects accusations that he was at one of the most scandalous parties in Miami, which took place at Gloria Estefan's house. To prove this, he provides a chronology of events and documents confirming that at the time he was doing charity work and was under heavy security. This whole story shows how Jay-Z, a man who usually confidently holds the microphone and controls the situation on stage, now finds himself in a position where he has to defend his honor, reputation, and loved ones from devastating accusations. On the day of the court hearing, Jay-Z spent literally every minute with the court, recounting in detail and proving exactly where he was at the key moment, on the night when the prosecution claimed he was at that very scandalous party. According to him, he was in Los Angeles that night at a charity dinner, organized by the Sean Carter Foundation. The event took place at the famous Peterson Automotive Museum, and Jay-Z was one of the main organizers and participants. To back up his words, he provided the court with a transcript of his speech at the dinner. It clearly states that he spoke that evening, confirming his presence and participation in the event at the very time when, according to the prosecution, he was supposed to be at a party in Miami. In addition, Jay-Z showed a list of guests who were invited to the dinner, which included the names of famous people and important figures who could confirm his words. He also presented a photograph of himself with the mayor of Los Angeles, which further proved that he was in the city on that day. To make the evidence even more compelling, the judge allowed the court clerk to show video footage from the museum's surveillance cameras. These recordings clearly show when Jay-Z entered and left the building. The footage was so detailed that it could confirm literally every minute of his stay at the event. There was no secret departure, no mysterious absences, and no secret meetings at that time. But perhaps the most important part of his speech was not just a set of dry facts. Jay-Z explained in detail how and why the rumors and accusations that are now trying to destroy his reputation arose. He explained that behind it all lies a complex web of misunderstandings, personal ambitions, and possibly deliberate attempts to smear his name. He showed that these stories did not come out of thin air. Someone created and spread them to further their own agenda, and that they are completely untrue. In doing so, Jay-Z did not simply prove where he was that night. He called into question the entire basis of the allegations, showing that they were not based on facts, but on rumors, manipulation, and someone's desire to drag him into the courtroom, to play with his reputation. His speech seemed like a carefully prepared, convincing analysis that could seriously influence the course of the entire trial. Jay-Z explained that these rumors and accusations were not based on real witnesses or specific facts. On the contrary, they grew out of vague and inaccurate wording used in court filings, as well as the constant, endless repetition of these stories in the media. He put it very clearly. You don't have to shout a lie loudly, you just have to repeat it. This phrase reflected his view of how the modern media world works. You don't necessarily have to create a sensation from scratch. You just have to take one piece of unreliable information and repeat it constantly until it is perceived as the truth. Jay-Z explained that because he once actually appeared at some events related to Diddy, he is now automatically considered an accomplice to all the allegations and scandals surrounding Diddy. He gave an example that if he simply went to a regular brunch or some kind of meeting, he would automatically be found guilty of something serious, even if he actually had nothing to do with those events. He emphasized that the media has completely lost control of the situation, spreading reports and rumors that he was allegedly seen in places where he has never been. One small and not entirely accurate statement gave rise to dozens of articles, thousands of tweets and social media posts, and the damage to his reputation became almost impossible to repair. To prove this, Jay-Z's team prepared and submitted a special report to the court, which analyzed in detail how many news agencies simply reprinted the same false information from each other without attempting to verify the facts or even obtain comments from Jay-Z himself or his representatives. This report showed how the media's irresponsible attitude toward fact-checking can destroy people's lives and careers, turning rumors into supposedly indisputable truth. When the judge officially confirmed the authenticity of the recordings, Jay-Z directly addressed the prosecution with a sharp remark. If you want to drag a man into such a high-profile lawsuit, you need more than just rumors and speculation. He made it clear that without serious evidence, the case simply could not proceed, and that empty speculation would not get them very far. But he didn't stop there. His testimony took a darker and even surreal turn when he began to talk about the avalanche of conspiracy theories that had been circulating on the internet since the beginning of the case. With a slight smile, Jay-Z said that he had been called all sorts of things, from an Illuminati manipulator to even a murderer. He noted that such accusations had become almost the norm in this industry, but that such rumors were something new, even for him. Videos and posts have appeared on TikTok, allegedly linking him to some of the most scandalous figures, from Harvey Weinstein to Jeffrey Epstein. He quotes the popular saying, "There's no smoke without fire," but immediately adds his own ironic version. Sometimes smoke is just a smoke machine and YouTube editing. Jay-Z cited a series of unsubstantiated and absurd allegations that allegedly link him to the most high-profile and mysterious cases, such as involvement in the deaths of singer Aaliyah, Michael Jackson, and Tupac Shakur, as well as allegedly paying people to keep quiet about Diddy. None of these allegations have been substantiated by any facts, but despite this, they continued to spread and be repeated, because such sensational stories sell well and attract attention. To illustrate just how wild the situation had become, Jay-Z pulled up a printout from Reddit, a huge thread with thousands of likes where users were arguing about who was in his circle, who was connected to Beyoncé and Diddy, and who was allegedly involved in the whole scandal. He held up the printout and, looking at everyone in the room, said with a hint of disappointment and sarcasm, "This is what they call journalism now." In doing so, he emphasized that the modern media environment often turns into an endless stream of rumors and speculation rather than a search for the truth. Jay-Z described in detail how these unsubstantiated conspiracy theories and rumors began to really destroy his life and affect those around him. He described how, after these rumors emerged, he was literally put under surveillance. Unofficial individuals and even journalists began to follow his every move, trying to catch him doing something compromising. Because of this, many of his longtime business partners and colleagues became cautious or refused to work with him altogether, not wanting to be associated with someone embroiled in such a high-profile scandal. Jay-Z emphasized that this was not just an inconvenience. It was a serious blow to his career and reputation. But the worst thing, he said, was the death threats he started receiving. He said he began receiving letters and phone calls hinting at danger, and it all happened simply because someone on the internet took a few random and unverified facts, connected them together, made up fantastic stories, and spread them on social media and video platforms. People believed these theories, and it turned into a real threat to the life and safety of Jay-Z and his family. And then Jay-Z took an unexpected and very honest step. He admitted that perhaps it was his silence, his unwillingness to publicly discuss these rumors and try to refute them, that only exacerbated the situation. He thought the truth was obvious to everyone and that it would defend itself, but he greatly underestimated how quickly lies spread, especially when they are beautifully packaged, accompanied by dramatic music, spectacular videos, and loud headlines. He explained that in today's world, emotions and sensationalism often trump facts, and if you don't defend your reputation in time, a lot of noise quickly builds up around you and the truth gets lost amid the lies and manipulation. At the end of his speech, Jay-Z said some powerful and heartfelt words. "I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not asking anyone to automatically believe what I say. I'm just asking you to listen, think for yourself, and demand that everything we're told be backed up by evidence." He emphasized that if, at this moment, the court and society cannot stop the flow of lies and put an end to it, then tomorrow none of us will feel safe because lies and rumors can destroy anyone's life, no matter if they are famous, rich, or just an ordinary citizen. In this way, Jay-Z not only defended his honor and his family, but also addressed a broader issue: the importance of being attentive and critical of what we are told in order to prevent lies and gossip from destroying the lives of innocent people. A thick, almost palpable silence fell over the courtroom. Everyone present felt as if Jay-Z's words had crossed out the entire indictment, causing even the most confident supporters of the prosecution to doubt themselves. It was clear that his speech had the effect of a bombshell. The entire courtroom seemed to freeze, waiting for further developments. As soon as Jay-Z stepped down from the witness stand, the chief prosecutor stood up, a well-known federal attorney who had earned a reputation for being able to throw even the calmest and most experienced celebrities off balance. His gaze was hard, intense, and unwavering. He directed it straight at Jay-Z. Although Jay-Z appeared calm, his gestures and gaze made it clear that he was on high alert and wary. He understood that the most difficult and important part was about to begin: the cross-examination, during which the prosecution would attempt to undermine his words and cast doubt on every piece of evidence. The prosecutor began the questioning with a clear and firm tone, intending to gradually expose the weaknesses in Jay-Z's testimony. He addressed him formally and without emotion. "Miss Carter, you claim that you have never been to Gloria Estefan's house, the place that the prosecution links to those scandalous parties. You have presented visitor logs, time-stamped photos, and other documents that, at first glance, appear convincing and support your position." Jay-Z nodded confidently, not hiding his calmness and confidence in his evidence. The prosecutor continued, as if building a bridge between the facts and the allegations. "However, you admit that you have attended events organized by Sean Diddy on numerous occasions. Brunches, parties, and various ceremonies. All of these events were public, took place in an open setting, and have nothing to do with what we are trying to prove in this case." Jay-Z confirmed that such meetings were indeed a normal part of his life and were not suspicious in any way. The prosecutor then tried to test his reaction and asked directly, "Have you ever seen anything that might have seemed suspicious or strange to you at these events?" Jay-Z replied without hesitation, "No, it was just a normal party, lots of music, familiar faces, show business stars, but nothing that would raise any suspicions." When the prosecutor brought up Cassie Ventura and her allegations of assault and coercion at parties, Jay-Z stated emphatically, "I never saw anything like that and never heard about it directly." If I had ever encountered anything like that, I wouldn't have kept quiet. I would have spoken up immediately. The prosecutor, trying to play on Jay-Z's uncertainty, hinted that he might know much more than he was saying, but without clear evidence, this remains mere speculation and cannot be taken as fact. The courtroom watched the questioning closely, and it was clear from the jury's expressions that their doubts about the charges were growing and that they were even beginning to sympathize with Jay-Z. His confidence and sincerity impressed many. At the climax, Jay-Z uttered important words, as if summing up everything he had said. "I am not defending Sean Diddy, I am defending my name and my honor. If I had been involved in what I am accused of, I would be standing in the defendant's seat right now." As he stepped down from the witness stand, adjusting his jacket, he glanced back at the courtroom for a moment. His wife, Beyoncé, was not among those present. Her absence was almost physically palpable, like an invisible but powerful symbol of support, whose presence could be felt in every glance and thought of Jay-Z, giving him strength and determination. His words and conclusions caused a real storm on social media and in the press. Headlines literally screamed, "Jay-Z breaks his silence. Jay-Z defends Beyoncé and his family from allegations related to Diddy." It seemed that no one was waiting for the official court decision anymore. The internet had already passed its verdict and was actively discussing what had happened. But in the courtroom, the situation was much more complicated and multifaceted. The jurors remained impassive, not revealing their thoughts or emotions. One of them carefully wrote down every word, another looked longingly at the empty space where Jay-Z had just been sitting, and a third nervously chewed on the cap of his pen, trying to cope with the tension. Among the spectators was even a former court intern who, unable to contain his emotions, quietly wiped away tears. Cassie Ventura remained silent at that moment. When Jay-Z mentioned Blue Ivy, Beyoncé, and Jay-Z's daughter, she looked up for a second, but it wasn't an expression of sympathy, but rather a question. Is he trying to protect himself first and foremost? Or is he really putting the safety and honor of his family first? At Rock Nation, which represents Jay-Z, there was tension and cautious anticipation. Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, limited himself to a brief comment, stating that his client had given honest and courageous testimony. However, this did not stop the wave of criticism and discussion that erupted in the media and on social networks. For many hours, major news outlets and media resources alternately praised and harshly criticized Jay-Z, analyzing his every word and behavior. Beyoncé's name remained trending worldwide for almost a day and a half. Some admired her defense of her family, while others questioned how close her relationship with Diddy really was. The singer's press secretary made no statements, which only fueled rumors and divided fans into two camps: those who staunchly defended her and those who remained skeptical. The accusation, which initially seemed confident and poised for an easy victory, suddenly faced serious difficulties. After Jay-Z publicly distanced himself from Diddy's family and took full responsibility for his participation in the controversial events, prosecutors realized they needed to rethink their entire strategy. The case became much more complex and multifaceted than simply bringing charges against one person. Jay-Z's move effectively challenged the prosecution, because now the question was not simply whether he was guilty or not, but how convincing his explanations would be and whether they would influence the overall perception of the case. The prosecution immediately made it clear that the investigation was far from over. They stated that the case went beyond one person, which essentially meant that the most interesting, serious, and sensational details were yet to come. They said that this was only the beginning of a real courtroom spectacle, and that the public could expect new dramatic twists and turns. At that moment, a real war of comments and memes broke out on social media and in the media. 50 Cent, a man who never knows when to keep quiet in such situations, came out. He posted a photo of Jay-Z online with a caption that was both a jab and a challenge. "Good performance, but we haven't forgotten about those brunches, buddy." This post blew up the internet. It was quickly picked up, commented on, turned into memes, and became yet another proof that this case is surrounded by a circus of public wars and scandals. Other celebrities followed 50 Cent's lead. Alicia Keys, known for her wisdom and philosophical approach, shared a quote about how the truth always comes out sooner or later, despite silence and lies. Questlove mysteriously posted a tweet that sparked a lot of speculation. And Oprah Winfrey published a story about rising from the ashes, hinting that even the most difficult trials can be the start of a new beginning. Although Jay-Z's reputation took a significant hit, it was not completely destroyed. His testimony was an important milestone, after which it no longer made sense to remain silent. It was necessary to speak openly and defend oneself. And looking at the whole story, one thing was clear. This wasn't just about Diddy or Jay-Z. It was a trial of an entire era. An era of power, close relationships, loyalty, and, of course, dark secrets that many tried to hide. Jay-Z went through serious trials that called his reputation into question and forced people to rethink their views on the entire music industry and its dark side. But the most important trial, the one concerning his legacy, truth, and justice, was just beginning, and much was at stake.